Hi, I'm Chris Maragakis of Simply Be Retreats and Therapies. I'm a life coach, therapist and podcaster. Welcome to Mindful Mutterings. Please like, share and subscribe. And as always, thanks for listening. Hi, thanks for joining me. So this week, Tanya has asked me to talk about trust. So Tanya, this is for you. I really hope it answers some of your questions. Oh God, trust. It's such a tricky thing. It takes time to build and seconds to lose. So why do we need trust? Well, let's have a look at what it means first. So it's defined by the dictionary as the firm belief in the reliability, ability, or truth of something or someone. And it's this very belief that is the cornerstone of our relationships, not only with ourselves, but with other people. So to trust ourselves, we need to believe that we know what we're doing, or that we have the ability to make good decisions most of the time. You know, no one's perfect. We're all going to drop a clanger here and there. But on the whole, we have to feel that we've got good coping skills, and we've got good problem solving skills, and we've got good decision making skills. But for some of us, this hasn't proven to be true. And the damage that it's caused, both from the fallout of the decision that we've made and the impact that that has on our confidence and self-worth, can then cause us to doubt ourselves, which then leads us to making poor choices in the future regarding our relationships and the way we want our life to go. So to restore that trust, we need to step back from the emotions, because what happens is when things don't go to plan, or when we see a repeated pattern but we're not recognizing it's a repeated pattern, we have this belief then that, you know, life never works out for us, or you don't deserve to have a good life, or that, you know, there's always a reason why something is happening in your life, and it's not your fault. And that's not strictly true. And the problem is that mindsets like that have very strong emotional reactions, and they're all very negative emotional reactions. And so as we are human beings, and we are often led by our emotions unless we challenge them mindfully, this then leads us to just become in a rut of repeated behavior, which is not serving us at all. So we need to step back from the emotions so that we can then examine the facts and our judgments around them, so that we can then challenge them and change them. And the way that we can do that, take a wild guess what I'm going to say, is through mindfulness. And for those of you that work with me, you must be sick to death of me hearing this. This must be like a mantra for you. But everything begins and ends with mindfulness, because as I've said a million times before, it might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I've said it a lot. If we are not aware of our thoughts and our beliefs and how they influence our words and our actions, then we cannot begin to change, because we don't know what we need to change. We don't know what's holding us back. We don't know what's causing us to behave in the way that we're behaving, that is causing the problems that we're seeing in life. So we need to take responsibility. And you need to do this, you need to give yourself some time. So ideally take yourself off somewhere quiet, preferably with a pen and paper. But if you prefer, you can visualize the process. The big difference in these two styles is, if you use pen and paper, what you're doing is you're creating space in your head, because you're taking out of your head and recording it on paper all the thoughts, so that you can examine the mindset and the beliefs around it. Whereas when you're visualizing, you're creating more stuff in your head, and that can cause overwhelm and more pressure. And also, it doesn't really create the space for you to see things as clearly as you could if you were recording them. And also with writing or journaling, whatever you want to call it, you've got muscle memory, and then of course you've got visualization, because you're seeing the words written in front of you. So whatever works for you, but journaling helps you to create more space in your head. And the one thing to watch if you are using visualization is that you don't get caught up in the film that's running in your head. You don't want to get distracted, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at how we can challenge the beliefs that we have. So then look at what it is that you're unhappy with, and then try and identify which people and behaviours you've believed have caused the issue, and then examine what it is that they did. So taking aside the fact that whatever somebody does is completely their responsibility, it has nothing to do with you really, they've chosen to behave in the same way. You're just the trigger for the behaviours that they demonstrate. So once you take away the fact that whatever has happened to you, and in some cases it may be absolutely horrendous, but that is not your fault. That is a them problem, not a you problem. What you have to deal with is how you've responded to that and how that makes you feel and how that impacts on your well-being and obviously health issues and later life. So taking that aside, what we need to do first is understand that we are responsible for how we've allowed things to continue. So first of all, we have to look at how we could have taken responsibility. So we have to identify what we could have done to change the outcome. And we have to be really honest with ourselves, because if we're not, nothing's going to change. And for a lot of people, this can be quite painful, and you might want to do it with a coach or a counsellor. But if you're going to do it yourself, you have to be honest. You have to take responsibility for your life. Okay, so the first thing that you do is you identify where you could have put boundaries in place, or why you didn't speak up, or why you didn't leave, or why you weren't questioning what was happening. Because until you do that, you are continuing to give the power to control your life to someone else, and you are assuming the victim position. So like I said, this is not a comfortable exercise, and it may be best done just through a coaching session, but it has to be done for you to make significant change. Then you have to find a way to own it and accept it. So it's like, you maybe didn't handle it in the best way, but that's okay, because we can now learn from it and we can move on so that we don't ever find ourselves in that situation again. So once that's happened, then, like I said, we can work out how we can do it differently so that we're not continuing our pain and our suffering. And when we've done that, we can then choose to learn from the experience rather than punish ourselves for what we think is a mistake. And this is where the idea is that, we always get things wrong, or we're not very good at this, or, whatever story we're telling ourselves is, that's where that comes from. But it's not true. Like everybody else, we learn through what doesn't go well for us. But we have to step back so that we can see how we can change that. And the thing is, although we may see it as a terrible mistake, or something awful might have happened, we are not God, and for God, substitute whichever belief system you have. But we do not have the power to see how our lives are going to unfold, or how this one decision that we made will impact on the rest of our life. So we can't possibly know right now if it was a mistake or a turning point that will lead us to greater things. However traumatic it might seem at the moment, we don't really know how that's going to impact on our life. So what we do need to do is we need to take responsibility for our part in how things played out, and then choose to see it as a positive learning experience. Because by doing that, by choosing to learn from the pain that you are going through, you are taking control and you are no longer the victim. So you are empowered to take this pain and find a way for it to help you to become more. And then with each lesson that we learn, your problem solving and decision making skills improves. And in turn, if we stay mindful, we can see how life is improving. And this then builds our resilience, our confidence, our self-worth. And eventually we can start to see that actually we have got good coping skills, and we do have good decision making skills, and we are good at problem solving. And so bit by bit, our trust in our ability to do what's best for us slowly starts to come back. As for trusting other people, I think I would err on the side of caution. Be open with people, be honest about yourself and about what you can expect from the person. And obviously, we don't want to be distrustful of other people, but what I'm saying is don't go into everything assuming that everyone thinks the same way that you do. Don't give all of you to someone else, because you don't know how they're going to interpret that. And something that we all tend to do is we assume that everyone else thinks in the same way as us, and that generally is what causes the problems and the pain. So like I say, be open with people. But when you're looking at people, be honest about what you can expect from that person. And this should be based on an honest appraisal of who they are, not who you want them to be or what you want them to do for you or what you feel you need them to do for you, but who they actually are and what they're capable of. Because if not, you're setting them up and yourself up for failure and hurt, and any trust that has been built will come crumbling down because you've got one idea of who they are and maybe they're just not capable of living up for that, and ultimately you're the one that's going to get hurt in this situation. So also watch how they interact with other people, notice how they respond to stress or conflict, and whether they are open and honest about their feelings and beliefs. You know, if you notice that someone's really secretive, or if you notice that someone takes a secret from one person and tells it to someone else, these are things you need to be aware of so that you can make a reasoned and informed decision about how much information you're going to let this person have about you and how much you're going to trust them to do what's best for you. And then go slowly. You know, life is very instant and we expect everything to just happen now. We like instant gratification, but friendships develop. You know, get to know the person, let them get to know you, and then go with your gut instinct and trust yourself. And obviously this comes from the work that you've done earlier so that you know that you can trust yourself. And until you get to that stage where you trust your instincts, then maybe give yourself time and space and just have an open, healthy curiosity about the people that you're allowing into your life. And then it's, you know, how do we deal with what happens when someone we know and love loses our trust? You know, that's really difficult because obviously it usually happens within a relationship or a friendship, or maybe it's in a workplace, but then you've still got to see these people. So it's how do you move forward from that hurt and that sense of betrayal and the pain of what you're going through, and often there's anger or the impact that it has on our well-being and our self-esteem. So I think the only thing you can do is communication. You have to have open communication and transparency, and then you have to have time. And I think these are the only way forward here. So, I mean, depending on what's occurred, you may feel that you can never trust that person again. And if this is the case, but you still want this person in your life, or you still have to deal with this person, then the way forward is to find ways to manage your relationship with them by putting in clear boundaries for both of you. And obviously, if you feel that what they've done is so awful that you can't ever trust them again, and you don't want to have anything to do with them, then it's about finding a way to come to terms with the ending of that relationship, so we don't have the conflict and the confrontation, and we can grieve that relationship and allow it to go so that it's not troubling us in the future. Because if we don't go through those steps, then they've still got the power over our life to hurt us, because we're still dealing with the fact that we're angry at them or we've been hurt by them. And I guess really what it's about is about, again, going back to what I said about meeting new people. You know, you've got to take it slowly and allow that person to prove to you that they can earn your trust again. And I guess it's about whether you can bring yourself to believe that everybody is allowed a second chance. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes we make the wrong decision or we do the wrong thing, and that will come down to you and your self-worth and your boundaries and what you feel is important to you, and that's a very personal decision. But if historically you've struggled with those decisions, then maybe, like I say, working with a coach or counsellor to help you unpick those will be what allows you to go forward so that you can become empowered and confident and know that you make the right decisions for you. So I think that's pretty much it. And I mean, like I say, trust is very tricky. We assume it's there from the start, and then, you know, and then it can go so quickly. So it's something to be treasured. And I think when we're mindful about how we communicate with people, how we act through our lives, how our actions impact on everyone around us, and we're genuinely trying to do the best that we can, then the occurrence of trust being broken becomes much less. And if it's the other way around and you find that people are always breaking your trust, then I think you need to take responsibility for how you're managing those situations, because if something is repeating itself, there's something there that needs to be addressed. So I really hope you found this useful. As always, if you have any questions or you would like a no obligation chat about how coaching can support you, then please get in touch with me. You can contact me via the website simplybe.org.uk. And whatever you do, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks for listening. Bye.